Okay, thank you for coming tonight. We will call the Tuesday, October 17th, Nisswa City Council meeting to order. If you will please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. First item is to approve the agenda, but I would like to make one amendment if on the advice of our council, we'd like to table item 2 under new business, the snowmobile trail permit request, Skull Lake Drifters. We're looking to bring that back at the November meeting.
And I think we can do that when we just get to that item.
Okay,
Just table
All right.
that. And then I think for the public who is here tonight, if they have comments about that, they can make their comments under open
we're
forum.
in open forum,
So that they
absolutely.
can,
Yep,
can get their feedback and you have that for advisement.
yep.
Yeah, okay. Otherwise, the council should be operating with the amended agenda version 4. Make sure you have that in front of you. Thank you.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as amended.
I'll second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next item is the consent calendar.
Now, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as amended as well.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The next item on the agenda is open forum. This is an opportunity for anyone from the public that wants to make a comment or to bring something to the council's attention. This is their opportunity to do it. We do limit you to 5 minutes. And if you were here to make and want, normally you would come in at that item, but number 2 on the snowmobile trail, if you want to come up now and make a comment, that you're welcome to do so. If anyone here. Yeah, just please state your name and where you live.
My name is Carrie Larson-Wedin, and I live on the Hazelwood Raceway. The snowmobile trail, when they were gonna build the bike trail, I don't know, there was at least 3 council members who came to my house to show where it would be, to show me how much property I was going to lose. And I said, are they gonna be grooming this for snowmobile? Oh, no, that will not happen. It will not be groomed for snowmobiles. We already had cars come on the bike trail. There's been several side-by-sides going on it. And if you groom that in the winter, there's going to be a lot of accidents happening. It's dangerous, very dangerous. So I do not want to see that happen. There's enough traffic as is. And if you have snowmobiles flying through there, they're not going to follow any speed limit. Most of them come through at 2 or 3 in the morning. I've already lost a lot of my front yard. I don't want to lose any more to snowmobiles. I love snowmobiles, used to ride them, but I don't want it in my front yard. It's very dangerous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Sir.
I'm Harlan Halls with the Gull Lake Drifters Snowmobile Club, president. I just want to make a couple comments. This is a multi-use trail that has already been established and accepted by the city. If we do not groom it, snowmobiles will go down it. It is allowed. If we groom it, we can control and help manage the way snowmobiles go down it. If you don't groom it, it gets rough. People go off the trail, they go everywhere. You groom it, they stay on the trail. This is an opportunity to help keep this under control. Speed limits, they have to be enforced. That's part of enforcement, just like a street. If you let this go without our consent, we have no control. If you put it in, with our jurisdiction, we actually assume the liability on this trail. The city does not. This is a big deal for the city to assume liability in the winter months when they have no control. We can take that from you and assume liability. It's your decision.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tammy. I'm the owner of Northern Gibson Suites.
My name is Kim and I have gatherings on the corner of Lakers Avenue and Main Street.
We're just gonna ask the city if they would not plow the snow in front of our stores. If they could plow it on the other end.
As you can see where Lakers Lane and Main Street run. And we're located, my store's in front of the A&W. And so the snow all gets piled up right in that corner. So when the snow gets so high, you can't see our stores anymore. It's all blocked. And we've talked to the gentleman that does the snow plowing for the last 3 years and asked him not to plow it so high that we couldn't, but we're not getting any results. So that's why we're here tonight, to find out what we need to do to help with that problem.
I would recommend that you contact our Public Works Director and speak with him. And it may be, I do know that once everything is open, like last year was an odd year, but when everything is open in downtown, the staff, as soon as they can get to it, they do remove some of the larger snow banks. And then at times we've brought snow in even because they have the winter jubilee. But that would be something that I would sit down with our Public Works Director and talk with him about it and see if you can't come up with a plan that can work for everybody.
Okay,
Okay.
thank
What
you.
was- What was his name? The Public Works?
Oh, Tom Blommer.
Tom? Okay.
Yep. And if you reach out, if you go to the website or if you just call here, you can get in touch with Tom. He's here right now, but you can get in touch with him and he'll meet up with you and you guys can work it out.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim Wagner, 24788 Hazelwood Drive. I've seen the comments that were in the original agenda for tonight, so I'm not gonna go over anything that was already in there. I haven't seen any of the new stuff that's been added since, but I think it's a noise issue having the snowmobiles come through there. We can already hear the snowmobiles on the other side of 371, clear as day. And that's way on the other side of the highway. I don't want them 30 feet in front of my house. With regard to snow accumulation, I don't know about everybody else that lives on Hazelwood Drive, but at the end of my driveway, on any given winter, I have 4.5 to 5.5 feet of snow piled up right where the trail is. Last winter, we had a record snowfall. I couldn't even see out the end of my driveway at the end of this season. So I don't know that plowing a trail through there is going to be all that reasonable. To echo something somebody else has already said or touched on, the trail has been usable, I'll say, for less than 3 months. I've seen golf carts, UTVs, mini dirt bikes, and even a Ring doorbell video of a car driving on the trail. If we can't enforce the trail as it is right now, how are we going to enforce the rules if it's a snowmobile trail? Part of moving the trail may be a safety issue. I haven't heard that brought up. But if that is the case, I would like someone to show us the statistics on the current trail crossing over by the subway, that area over there. How much of a safety issue is it? And what makes the proposed crossing at the stoplight in Nisswa any safer? Merely having a stoplight doesn't inherently make it safer. I drive through that stoplight at least 4 times a day heading east and west. I've biked through it or walked through it countless times, and it is a motion detection stoplight. Absent a vehicle in the intersection approaching or the crosswalk buttons, you would sit there all day and never get a green light. And while the crosswalk buttons may be appropriately positioned for pedestrians and bicycle traffic, they are not appropriately positioned for snowmobile traffic. Furthermore, the concrete curbing and crosswalk in that area are only 4 feet wide. So there isn't enough room for snowmobiles heading east and west across the road to pass each other safely. And I just think we're going to create more traffic congestion there with cars turning off of County Road 18 or Colonel Thorpe Road, turning onto the highway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Burns, 24876 Hazelwood Drive. I agree something needs to be done, but having snowmobiles running 30 feet from my bedroom window is not something, it's already loud enough when the sleds go on the street. And they do ride that street a lot in the winter. It's too close. There's going to be an accident happening also. It's just too much there, and my biggest problem is the noise. Because they're gonna be going 30 feet from my front door and my bedroom window. And they're not gonna stop at 10 o'clock at night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seen no one else? Anyone else? Oh, okay.
Good evening, City Council. I'm Roger Landers. I live on Edna Lake Road. I am the chairman of the Trails Committee. And 6 years ago, when we started this project, one of the things that we came to conclusion right away that we would allow snowmobiles, but without grooming. And that's what we told the folks that are here tonight that attended 3 open houses that we had in 18 and 19. And they went along with that. You know, there were even some that were here tonight that were opposed to the trail altogether, but those lines have been changed. And now we've got the fact that we want to groom this trail. So we got noise and we got safety and enforcement. Now, in today's packet, the packet of information that you got, most of these people don't know this, but our chief of police said he's not going to enforce it, right? He's not going to enforce the speed limit. That's in the packet of information tonight. So the chief of police has said no enforcement. Is that what we want? Is no enforcement on a very unsafe recreational sport in the wintertime. So I realize that we're tabling it tonight. I hope that everybody comes back. If it's going to be brought back to us in November, that we're back again. And it's really unfortunate that people that live on Hazelwood and Royal Lake Road should have been noticed, because this permit request is no different than a CUP or any other permit where you notify the people that live in the neighborhood. We got noise, we got safety, we got enforcement. Those are all the things that those people should be notified on, so they can, again, tonight, thanks for showing up, but you may have to show up again. So that's all I'll say at this point, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Point of clarification though for you, Roger, the chief's memo didn't say they would not enforce. It would be very difficult for our current police department to enforce it, simply because they do not have the proper tools to do it. When you're enforcing speed on a snowmobile trail, it is very difficult to do with a radar gun. It is very easy to do with a laser radar system. And I don't believe we have a laser. I know this because I've done it. It can be, it would be something that I don't think that our department would have an issue doing if that was the direction the council gave them to do. And there are other options available to the city as well if we need that. The DNR, the sheriff's office do operate those patrols on a regular basis. We used to use them in Pequot a lot, but the first step to getting them involved would be, is this going to be groomed? Is it not going to be groomed? What kind of use is it going to get? There's a lot of factors and stuff. So, but I appreciate your point. I did read the memo and I can see where you would come to the conclusion you did. I'm not faulting you, but it's not definite, wouldn't happen. It would be
Okay.
further discussed.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I took the police chief's memo a little different than you did,
Okay,
because I read it as it wasn't practical. That meant that he wasn't going to do it. So
okay,
anyhow, thank you.
you bet. You bet.
Ted Doolum with the Nisswa resident and a Gull Lake drifter. As far as the trail usage, the trail will be ridden on whether we maintain it or not. It's a fact that people in that area are going to use it for access to the Paul Bunyan Trail. With the grooming of it, I do find it will be safer. The trail will be clean, smooth. The crossing at Subway, I've done it a few times with a groomer, which is hair raising. We've got traffic coming from both ways. And we all know that it's a little risky even at a vehicle crossing there, much less snowmobiles. The noise we cannot control, but we are planning to put speed limits on there. Like I say, the snowmobiles are going to use it anyhow. We've talked to some residents that are in that area that just love that access to the Paul Bunyan Trail. The insurance, the Paul Bunyan or the Snowmobile Club has insurance in case there is an accident on any of these driveways intersections. I think also that the road embankments, the snow plowing, half of it gets knocked down with the groomer. So you may have actual better visual as you leave your driveway. I think that's all I have. And I think it's a bonus to our community.
Okay.
To have this access. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No. Okay.
Mayor Ryan, if I could, since we're on the topic, city staff will follow up with the Snowmobile Club with some pieces of information we're looking for as part of November. I want to thank everybody for your comments tonight. It will be helpful to the council, but I just wanted to make sure that they knew that we will follow up with you and work to obtain some additional information, I think, to help provide some clarity from your perspective. And then the council will have more information from the, hopefully from the Gull Lake Trail Steering Committee as well to bring to you in November.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We'll close public comment. Next item on open forum is the Old Pickle Factory annual presentation. Mr. Walling.
So, good evening. Yeah, if you want to start with that. I had Josh, the IT guy from Spirits, do me a little PowerPoint for this evening for your enjoyment. So this year, our off sale is running at 28.9% profit compared to last year at 28.3%. We're just ran the numbers yesterday and we are $8,000 over last year at this time. And with the prediction for the rest of the numbers through the end of the year, we'll easily make our budget for this year. Right now, the numbers in the off sale are running $60,000 over last year at this time. A lot of that has to do with the price increases this summer on drinks. And we've sold an extra $20,000 worth of clothing this year so far compared to last year at this time. The Pickle Factory was very involved with the fire department this year. And this year we raised over $20,000 we raised $20,100 for our fire department. With that, special thanks to our people that helped. Zorba's provided the food. We had many donations from Tito's through Chris Cunningham. Local beer distributors donated, Southern Wine, other liquor companies also donated. And we also had a bunch of customers that donated towards that. This fall, we partnered with the Nisswa JCs for the Rib Fest. And between the two bars outside, it's been the first year ever that we made enough money to pay for the bands and the stage outside. We raised almost $9,000 outside between the two bars. And it was also the largest day in pickle history so far. So it's pretty exciting. One deal with the off sale this year. We probably have one of the best bourbon selections in the county through our allocated bourbons. And with that in mind, the profit on those bottles are usually 40 to 50%. So that's helping with our profit out there. Responsibility practices. Last winter, we did a alcohol awareness training, which included both the spirits and the pickle, and then the Aiken Muni also joined us. Jennifer was there too. We had it right here. With that in mind, that has to be done every 2 years. So the training includes observation of intoxicated people on how to cut them off without causing a fight, and regular practices on carding to make sure that you're serving everyone that's over 21. We also encourage all new employees that are hired take that class, like our summer staff. Most of our college help needs that also. I've been busy with the MMBA with their struggles with THC products. We had a regional meeting last week, and some municipals are selling it. We are not, which I do not have a problem with. I think you're sure the sales are great, but it's pretty much uncharted waters. A lot of municipals in the state are catching a lot of flack from their local constituents. They don't believe, a lot of them don't believe the city should be involved in alcohol, and they certainly don't believe that they should be involved in THC products. One thing to mention though, is that if we're gonna do it, you've probably got the best people to do it as far as it being controlled. The gummies themselves are put up behind the counter. And there's probably 400 different types of THC products right now. And of course, it comes in a 12-ounce can, which is 2 servings. What a lot of people are trying to do right now is if you buy THC products in the off sale, you probably won't be allowed in the bar later that day. I have a board meeting November 8th through the MMBA, and I'll have more information for you guys on that. As a matter of fact, Paul Capsack from the MMBA, he's going to be on a panel, I believe next week. And that is the main topic for the whole state right now, is trying to figure out what to do. It's kind of like the Obamacare. Let's not read it. Let's just push it through. And I don't think they did the state justice doing that. But it's another one of those things where, hey, you know, we can make a lot of money doing it. Well, if you feel right doing that, I'm sure by 2025, you know, there'll be more information out there for us to gather. So Are there any questions for me tonight?
Nice job.
Thank you. You're doing a great job over there.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry.
Next item is Brainerd Lakes Chamber lodging tax presentation.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and Councilman. I am Pam from the Nisswa Chamber. I am here tonight to open discussion with the group of us wanting to present the possibility of a lodging tax to support the ability to share the lakes area on a much broader scale. A much broader scale that is very exciting to me. I'm here tonight to introduce Matt and Grandview and Eagles Nest. Eagles Nest could not make it, so they have sent a little letter in their support of this that they've asked me to read. MEA made them sneak out a little early. Dear Mayor Ryan and City Council, I'm writing to express my support for the proposed lodging tax ordinance to fund the Brainerd Lakes Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. As a local mom and pop resort owner, I see the need to continue to expand our regional marketing significantly above the current budget. I believe all local businesses would benefit from the Brainerd Lakes being able to market to a broader and potentially more year-round customer base. Justin Isaacson, Eagles Nest Resort, Nisswa. And without further ado, here is Matt with his presentation.
Thank you. Just before I begin, okay, there we go. I can advance the slides. Okay. Thanks a lot, Pam, and Mayor Ryan and council members and Administrator Max and everyone here. Appreciate the time. I know it's a busy agenda, so I appreciate a little time in the agenda. I'm not sure that my PowerPoint is going to be quite as entertaining as Terry's was, but we'll do our best. So what we're presenting here is kind of the proverbial big idea. It's big thinking. This has been tried before in the past. In fact, in our chamber, we can trace this sort of proposal all the way back to 1933. And for whatever reason, it hasn't gained traction. But we think that the moment is right because we've done it the right way. And what I mean by that is we've been at this for about 18 months. We've met with Pam and I, and our steering committee have met with about 50 resorts and lodging properties one-on-one. And we have that private sector support. So what is this? It's uniting chambers that represent different cities. We haven't partnered on this level. It's uniting the private and public sectors. And it's uniting a lot of businesses that may see themselves as competitors, but it's all for the common good. And that is to create a year-round tourism economy and the economic benefits that come with that, even more than what we have now. So what we're asking for you tonight is some signal of support to Jenny to take this a step further down the road, perhaps considering an ordinance even before the end of the year to pass the 3% lodging tax. And if you did, we've been talking to both the city of Breezy Point and the city of Crosby recently, perhaps being the first city to do this among 23 or so different municipalities in the Brainerd Lakes area. So I'm going to run through a bunch of information. I hope not to talk your ear off, but I do want you to hear the full presentation so you can get all your questions answered, including the information I've already supplied, I think, in your packet, right? So let me see here. All right. So first of all, what is a CVB and how is it different from a chamber? So when you think about chambers, we do a lot of things. Tourism is one of the things that we do. It's one of the prime activities that the Nisswa Chamber does. We also do workforce, we do networking, we do business training, we interact with government. We do a lot of different things. A CVB is totally dedicated to tourism marketing. It promotes travel that generates overnight stays. That's really important. That's important to all the lodging properties that we talk to. We're talking about overnight stays, not just necessarily the day trips, but the things that generate economic activity. We think it provides significant benefit to the residents and the city beyond tourism, and I'll get to that at the end. And then these organizations, no matter where you've traveled in the United States, you've encountered them. from Orlando to Las Vegas and every other major tourism destination has a CVB behind it. They're all funded primarily by a 1 to 3% lodging tax on short-term overnight lodging only. So what do I mean by that? Less than 30 days. Only on the lodging, the brick and mortar lodging component is what we're talking about. So if you look at a resorter, they might sell firewood, they might have a restaurant, they might do boat rentals, they might sell apparel. We're not talking about taxing that. It's just on the overnight stay component. And as a city in the state of Minnesota, you can enact up to 3% without legislative approval. Just to direct your attention to the packet, which our audience doesn't each get a chance to see, but you get a little bit of an overview. And this is the page that I'm on right now. This is the page that we started with. And Cragun's Resort actually brought this to our attention about 2 years ago. And what they told us is that the Brainerd Lakes area was falling behind a lot of other tourism destinations in the state. And we wanted to verify that. So we looked at it painstakingly researched, because this is hard data to find, but we looked at what they call CVB, Convention and Visitor Bureaus, and DMOs. That stands as industry term, stands for Destination Marketing Organization. The difference between the two is the C and the CVB. Promoting business conferences and conventions and group travel. That's what we're talking about here. There's more than 100 in the state of Minnesota. They collect about $40 million all told. And if you look at that graphic, what you'll find is that even when you look at two organizations within our area that would qualify as DMOs, at best, when you combine those budgets with our chamber tourism budgets, we're in the middle of the pack. The Brainerd Lakes area should not be in the middle of the pack. We are a major tourism destination. Depending on you talk to, and I know everybody in this room agrees, we're number one in the state, but we're not acting like it. We're being outspent, outmaneuvered by smaller communities, not only in Minnesota, but beyond. So that really cemented it for us that we needed to try to unite the region behind this concept. So this is the region that we're proposing. And the green area, greenish area is Cass County. The blue is Crow Wing. There are 23 different cities and townships within this area. And I don't know if do I have the light? If you look at the dark blue on the map of Crow Wing County, that's brand new, super exciting development for us. And that is that the Cuyuna Lakes Chamber that represents Crosby, Deerwood, Ironton has invited us into their area. So we've been talking to Crosby, and a big win for us is that Rutgers Resort is now an enthusiastic supporter, joined the steering committee. They just got bought by a bigger company called Odyssey Resorts. So now we're moving into that area as well. So that's the area that we're talking about. Not that we couldn't expand further, but this is where most of our members reside. There are two other, what I say, DMOs. I just wanted to draw your attention to. Brainerd and Baxter has a 3% lodging tax that goes to an organization called Visit Brainerd. They're aware of this. We think that they'd rather be independent, but we feel like we can partner with them in a much more substantial way. And then Ideal and Cross Lake, their 1%, and that those properties goes to fund an organization called WALA, the Whitefish Area Lodging Association. And we've had lots of conversations with them about merging. And so we'll see how that goes, but we're optimistic about getting them part of this fold as well. So the proposed budget that we're talking about, and all of our resorts tell me this is a very conservative number, is $2.1 million. This is the number that I can get by kind of working back from the Department of Revenue math. So we can look at lodging and hospitality receipts by county, but then we have to do a subtraction for just the lodging component. And then Cass County is that weird shape that includes Walker. So we have to do a subtraction for Walker. This does not include more than 550 VRBO short-term rentals in the area, of which the city of Nisswa has 37. And so when I talk to the properties that really know their numbers, this might be north of $3 million. Just to put that in perspective, the entire Brainerd Lakes Chamber budget is about 1.8. Can I ask what yours is, Pam? No, you do more now.
What?
Your whole chamber budget.
Oh, 200,000.
Yeah. So we're talking about a budget that would be substantial. That would make us really not only a player in the Midwest, but in the Minnesota, but a Midwestern powerhouse. So here are the goals. This is what our resorts and hotels tell us they want. More marketing to compete with Midwest destinations. We all pound the Twin Cities. When you talk to a lot of the resorts, they're drawing from far beyond that. So it's into Canada, into Fargo, as far away as Kansas City, Iowa, Chicago. We have everything that those communities want to see it for a year-round tourism destination. It's all here. It's all resides in all those different communities, but we just don't have the horsepower to get there. More revenue, if we can increase the demand, you can get more revenue for your existing rooms and cabins. We don't want to focus necessarily on just the summer. We don't need a lot of that help. We want to look at shoulder and off seasons. Quality events we'll get to in a minute. And then the bigger resorts really want the help with getting the sales leads for those business conferences. So I'm going to walk through 3 focus areas here. First of all, this first one, destination marketing, this is family vacation travel. And what I would say is we could be much more sophisticated in digital targeting and going deeper into the user groups, not only looking at different geographies, but going deeper into the user groups that would travel for their activities. So we're talking about, I know a topic tonight was snowmobiling. People travel for snowmobiling, golf, mountain biking, fishing, hunting. All of those user groups, you can get into those groups in depth and then draw them to the area because they're willing to travel for those activities. The other thing that a lot of the small resorts have told both Pam and me is that you have grandma and grandpa that always do the same week every single year. They buy, they rent 3 to 5 cabins. They bring the whole family out, and that's been going on since the 1970s. What happens when grandma and grandpa pass away? What are the next generation of traveler that we can attract here? That's what we all need to be thinking about. So that would be that one. And I'll have Frank come up and this is his bailiwick, so he can talk a little bit more about that. The other thing is attraction and expansion of tour events. People will come up for an event. They'll stay multiple days. Pam has the City of Lights. You have the Fall Festival. She has a variety of other events. Could we invest more in marketing to make those bigger, to put more horsepower behind what's already happening? I think about the city of Duluth, for example, and Bentleyville. That was a kind of a crazy guy out in a farm field with Christmas lights. You put some marketing horsepower behind that, and suddenly it fills up every room in Duluth from Thanksgiving to Christmas, which is a really hard time to actually get guests into a destination. I guess the other part would be you can bid for events. We can put together packages to bring like Hockey Day in Minnesota here. There's a variety of other things that we're just not able to get inReach into because we don't have the resources to do it. And then the final one of the 3 is the lead generation for conventions, corporate and group travel. This is the part that a lot of our residents don't see. But floats the boat for our big resorts. It's the conferences and conventions, multi-day happening in the off season, in the shoulder season. We envision having staff to respond to the RFPs and to meet with meeting planners and all that to help those efforts as well. So you're seeing within the infrastructure of this thing, you're seeing activities that benefit small resorts and large resorts as well. And I think that's what makes it work. All areas and properties are represented. Nisswa Chamber is very much on board. Pam or her position will have a position on the board. We'll have diverse industries represented, but we think that it's best to have this as a walled off operating division of the Brainerd Lakes Chamber. Why? Because we're regional and we have a lot of the staffing and facilities already there. We don't have to invent a whole new organization and pay for all that stuff. And if you look in the packet in your budget, only about 30% of the total money goes to overhead, which means 70% goes into what we want it to. And then we want to be very accountable to all of our properties and to our cities too that pass a lodging tax. So you won't get as long of a presentation as the one I'm delivering now, but you get one every year to say, this is how the money's spent. And this is the results that we think we are achieving with it. So I'll just get into the nuts and bolts of the lodging tax itself. Again, this is not a tax on residents. I think that's really important to realize. There's 100 tax districts in Minnesota. We showed resorts an example of what that would look like for your standard 10-bedroom seasonal resort. And if you look at that middle cabin number, $2,400 a week to rent a cabin for your family, you're going to pay about $72 if you're the tourist coming. Now, $72 will buy us a couple of steak dinners, so I don't want to minimize $72, but it's not the reason why somebody's going to look elsewhere. It's just not enough of a margin. And the other thing that they're going to find is no matter where they go, really in Minnesota or beyond, they're going to pay the same thing. I mentioned that this is a tax on lodging receipts only, and then the cities have the ability to collect 3%. This is where we've been so far. What we're targeting right now is January 1st, 2025. We're looking for a couple of pioneer cities to set the dominoes falling. And then once we get some traction, which we anticipate getting this fall, we'd be looking to do a full court press in 2024, with 2025 being the collection date. So our request to you is to consider a lodging tax ordinance. I met with our attorney, Brad Person, who is the city attorney for Baxter and Cross Lake. Both of them have these ordinances in place. You're going to see in your packet that he has a memo, kind of an FAQ memo in there. The Minnesota statute that allows you to do this as a city in Minnesota, and then a sample ordinance for your consideration that I'm not sure if Jenny's really had a chance to look over yet, but you have that in there. The other thing I'd mention is that by state law, you can retain up to 5% of the total collection for administration. So that's a way to offset any additional work that the staff would do on the collection or enforcement angle. And then finally, this is my last slide. You know, what I would say is lodging collects this, but everyone benefits from it. One of the statistics that when I first started this job that kind of surprised me, and this is just one industry, that when someone vacations, for example, they spend 2 to 3 times more on restaurants than they do on lodging. And if you do the math for a family of 4 or 5 or 6, do that math, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it has economic impact. It has economic impact to retailers and other services. And there's a study that is affectionately known as the halo effect of tourism that was done in Colorado, that people who visit an area are, they say, 76% more likely to believe it's a good place to live and 54% more likely to believe it's a good place to start a business. So it helps with that tax base and residential recruitment. But it's a big idea. It's a big investment. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. But before I do, I wanted to invite Frank Sukup, who's our board chair and the director of marketing for Coat Family Companies that owns Grandview Lodge. And maybe you just want to offer a couple of quick words on Grandview.
Good evening. Thanks for listening. As Matt said, he said on the board of directors, I've been with Grandview for 13 years as the marketing director. I'm also a small business owner of Nisswa Adventure Rentals, which are the quiet snowmobiles rental place in Nisswa. So just had to throw that in there. Marketing's for our area is really tough. And Grandview is the 3rd largest employer in our county. Yet I walked into our restaurants tonight and we send servers home because it's not busy enough during the weekdays. The convention portion of this is truly important to get the word out about the area. There's a lot of small resorts that do groups as well. They're more refined, they're fishing groups that they get together and they meet and they talk about business and they have camaraderie. No different than golf groups and everybody else that comes to town. We're not talking about adding more people to 371 and 210 in July. What we are talking about is the shoulder season, the mud season, the black hole of hospitality, which is December 1st through December 20th, when it really dies down and no groups come to town and no families come either. There's an opportunity for growth out there. There are markets that we cannot reach. Dallas is a growing market. Phoenix is a growing market. Omaha is a growing market for us. Chicago is probably one of the biggest. There's a lot of people that would love and fall in love with our area if they had the opportunity to know more about it. And this is our opportunity. And for anybody that says, you know what, I'll stop going there because of lodging tax, you're going to get it in Park Rapids, Detroit Lakes, Walker, Bemidji, anywhere you go in the state, Cook County, up on the shoreline, you're going to get a lodging tax. And that helps fund that tourism. And it also takes the extra tourism arm away from the small resorts. We've talked to a lot of resorts in the last year. Some of them are fantastic operators. They really are. They know their book work. They're not good marketers. We try to train them with everything else that we can do in the community, but it's difficult. They just don't have the arms. And you think that as busy as we are, they'd be as busy too. They're not necessarily. They have their key weekends and then they go dead for 7-8 days. So, and with those businesses that only have that small period of time in order to make money, it gets very hard on them over the winter. This is the opportunity to extend a season and to open a little bit earlier. It's an opportunity for our restaurants to thrive and for our employers to be able to put the restaurant workers to work and get 40 hours a week and have them earn the pay that they need. So it's a benefit to our whole area, especially if we concentrate this in the areas where we need the growth and not where we don't. And like we said about Bentleyville, that's exactly what we can do with helps with the local chambers is intensify the events, make them longer. The world's your oyster. What do you want to do? You know, how many times you've been told that? Almost zero. So I'd really like you guys to consider it because this is a truly important segue for our whole industry in our area. So I appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you.
So with that, I can certainly answer any questions you might have.
So the 3% tax, lodging tax, and then Nisswa could take 5% of that tax that's generated within Nisswa, correct?
Correct. Yep, correct.
I was just wondering, could that money be put to the chamber then?
Well, it would be the. What do you mean by that money?
Who does the collection?
Yeah, the collection would be the city staff. And I would say in close partnership with the CVB staff as well. I mean, we want people to be willing contributors to it. But as far as the 5% that you're able to retain, that could be allocated for any purpose that you see fit. It's in the statute to make sure that cities are compensated for their time for administration and collections, but that could really go for anything.
Anything.
That's my understanding, and I'm kind of looking out of the corner of my eye at Jenny. Is that your understanding as well?
I believe so. I mean, the intent is to recoup the staff costs for administering that tax. Or, issuing the invoices, receiving payments, etc. But certainly we can look into that if there is a way to cycle that money to another purpose or a portion of it. We can verify that.
Okay.
Matt, from your experience in the past, why have cities or chambers removed the lodging tax, and why is it now being ushered back in?
Yeah, so we've never had a regional one. I think efforts that have been tried in the past have, and I want to be fair because I wasn't here at those times, but I don't feel, yeah, I don't feel like, from what I know in the past, that it's been kind of professionally researched and it's been private sector led.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I think that we're seeing over the past 10 years, and I know Pam will agree with me, but the chambers have regionally, not just our chamber, but Nisswa, Cayuna Lakes and others have have become more sophisticated organizations. There's just more trust and credibility with the organizations.
Absolutely. I mean, I think Pam's one of the best party planners that the city's ever seen.
Yeah.
And for example, we can go back to the 4th of July firework and parade event that we had. What was the estimated head count that we had pass through the city for that event? 40,000. 40,000 people. We have Chief Hall, Assistant Chief Hall and Fire Chief Bailey here as well. And we run into issues as a city when we have events like that, where it becomes a bottleneck, where it locks in our emergency response services. So I kind of have a little tremble up my spine, and I can't imagine what these gentlemen have as well when we hear about events getting even larger.
Right.
We understand the need to be able to diversify our services and try to grow our private industries. And I'm a business owner, we try to do the same thing. No, it's definitely a consideration for the strain on the natural resources in this area to accommodate further growth above and beyond what we've already had. So it's an interesting prospect. 5% back to the city off of what the city would take in is definitely it's smaller than what I would have thought that the state would have permitted. And what progress have you made with the other cities so far?
So a couple things, just one thought on your concern about having these events well beyond what's manageable in a short amount of time, because I've heard that before. I would say keep in mind that this is not, we're not flipping the switch. So I mean, as soon as this kind of blinks on, we're not talking about having events that exist now at 40,000 swelling in 1 year to 400,000. It's more gradual. But yeah, so that'd be one thing. We have to start somewhere with cities. And so Breezy Point, for example, all of their lodging properties are supportive. We have a good relationship with the Breezy Point mayor and city council, so that was a natural for us. The city of Nisswa, we've talked to just about every lodging property. We have strong support. There's a couple of them that we need to meet with still. Grandview would be probably the kingpin of that, but a lot of the small resorts, after they hear the presentation, are saying this makes a lot of sense. So with the Nisswa Chamber, the Brainerd Lakes Chamber, and all of that, we think that's another good one. City of Crosby seems to be kind of the stars aligning at the same time there. So what we're thinking right now is we need proof of concept. So it needs to start somewhere. We think Breezy Point and Nisswa are two good ones for the reasons I mentioned. Crosby might be a third. But once we get a few of those saying yes, and the lodging tax is enacted as of, again, 2025, then that sends us out to approach a whole bunch of other cities, and most of them are townships. So we have to, there might be a township, there might be only 2 properties in the township, but they need to be a part of it too. So that's kind of a long-winded answer to why here, why now, but that's our thinking behind it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. And something Matt and I did talk about a few weeks ago is the idea that, because this is a big ask of the city council, that you might want to give an opportunity to open up to public comment or feedback. So let's say bringing this back, we have a draft ordinance, we could put that in our format and present it to you either November or December for consideration, but that would give you time, whether you want to speak to business owners yourself or you hear just opportunity for comment from the public, would be something to consider as well. Certainly there's no formal ask here tonight, but just wanted to give you that context that we did talk about that might be important to the council and something to consider. If you would like anything else from us, certainly we can facilitate that as well. Or a specific time frame to bring this to the council for some action.
I think it's something we definitely need to keep on our radar, and we need to bring it back in November. And, you know, that gives us all an opportunity to hear from the public, hear from, we can talk to our constituencies and see what people think about it, understand it, get the questions that they have, and either direct them to the people that can answer those questions directly or get those answers for them. But I did talk to the mayor from Breezy Point did contact me. And, they're all in. So they're kind of looking to us. So,
And I do have firsthand knowledge of how Bemidji did it and see what they did. It was slow rolled in, but
Yeah.
it's an enormous benefit.
And I think the idea, just to make sure to clarify, I mean, if the council were to consider approving an ordinance for this, then it gives essentially a year to do the, outreach and to make
Mhm.
sure everyone's on the same page. We'd have time to ensure whatever the logistics from a staff perspective would be. So we would have a lot of runway to work with from that as well.
And if this was, sorry to interject, but if this was on a future agenda, we would be encouraging all those properties that reside within this area to come. The only way this works is that if people are locking arms, they feel good about it, they get an opportunity to hear their voice in a forum like this, and we want it done in the broad daylight. So it would be great to have a public comment period. Because residents, I'm sure, I'm a resident as well, 25380 Twin Leaf Circle. Yeah, residents may have questions or comments as well, and yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
If it works for the council, we can put together just draft language to have in your packet for next month. Public hearing wouldn't be scheduled maybe till potentially December or whenever the council was comfortable with that. But at least you'd have something to look at.
yeah, I like that. I like it.
so.
Okay,
We can
very
see
good.
it.
We'll do that.
Okay. Next item is reports. City Administrator report.
Thank you again, Mayor Ryan. Good evening, members of the council. My report is in your packet. I'm happy to answer questions. Just want to highlight two things. A big thank you goes out to Brian Farrell at Spirits for offering to contribute the $20,000 that you approved under the consent calendar to put as a seed money for the Nisswa Enrichment Fund for our parks efforts. Certainly that could grow to other projects in the future, but that was a great suggestion, and we appreciate that very much. And then also for the council's information, we will come back in November for another budget workshop before the regular meeting to work towards our final budget and levy.
I know you and I talked about it. I want to say this past spring, maybe early spring, in regards to water here. And I saw on the news, a feasibility study was done on local aquifer systems.
Yeah.
I did find some articles of substance that I will share with you. And then it's definitely worth noting the benefit to be held for Laura Mahaydi's son Oliver at the Pickle on October 29th at 4 to 8.
Yes, thank you, council members on, and thank you for forwarding that information. That sounds great. Thank you.
City Attorney.
Good evening, everybody. No report here, but I'm involved in some things later in the agenda, so.
Okay. City Engineer.
No report here, but I'm involved in some things later in the agenda.
Okay, new business, planning and zoning violation update. Bethany.
Good evening, Mayor Ryan. Good evening, council. On March 23rd, 2023, our office received a formal complaint concerning commercial use on a residentially zoned parcel. There was an enforcement open and a letter sent detailing what needed to happen on the property to bring it into compliance. A follow-up site visit conducted on June 20th demonstrated that the property owner had made minimal efforts. At the July 18th City Council meeting, you directed the property owners to work with city to remediate the violations on the property, with progress to be reviewed this evening. In your packet, I've included photos from a site visit that I conducted on October 5th. That shows the current status of the property, as well as you should have a stormwater plan and landscaping plan that was just recently submitted by the property owner for the proposed changes to the property. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Are you satisfied he's trying?
I am satisfied with the progress that has been made. There has been progress made. There is clear evidence that it has been closed off, that there is not commercial use, that there is not vehicles driven. His proposed plan does have nice vegetation screening elements to it. And he brought the impervious down to the required amounts. I still believe that I will be monitoring this property for an extended time.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
So so can I clarify though, is there an ask? Do we need to circle back in the spring? What are we?
Whatever
How does-
they,
How frequently are you planning to go check the property
probably in the spring.
in the spring?
Yep, and then with the stormwater and the vegetation plan, if you have an idea of when you'd like to see that implemented, I would propose to want to see that implemented by next May. Give the fall, maybe next spring, depending on the weather, depending on everything. I don't want to require him to plant it and then to get 18 inches of snow and do that. So I'd like to give him the ability to work with whatever the season will bring.
Mhm. If you're comfortable with that, I'm comfortable with that.
Mhm.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. The snowmobile trail permit request, we're looking at tabling that.
Yep, we just need a motion to table till November.
So if I could get and bring it back in November.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to table the snowmobile trail permit request by the Gull Lake Drifters until the November city council meeting.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Number 3, residents concerned reference conflict of interest.
I can
If you want to key that.
just tee this up really briefly. The city received some resident concerns and comments regarding conflict of interest. We felt that it would be appropriate to bring this to the city council in case you had questions or comments about the process. I've spoken with our city attorney as well on this. If you have questions for Mr. Pearson. In addition, that is partially just wanting to offer the opportunity if there were any questions or clarification that you would need from myself or the city attorney.
I think from my perspective, in general, whenever we do have something that's a conflict of interest that involves, for example, myself, if something was brought up about that, I really feel that at that point, I would have to recuse myself from at least responding to those requests until I get down from the podium here, because I'm sitting up here. If I'm that way, then get down, and then when people bring up issues that involve me, then I should have the right to be able to talk just like anybody else right at the mic. And it's to handle it that way. And then when the vote actually occurs, I would not be involved in that. I think that's fairly common practice whenever it involves us. And I think that needs to be regulated by ourselves and probably either while if it pops up that a discussion happens like that, that maybe any one of us could bring that up, that maybe we should recuse ourselves if we're involved in on it.
And I've recused myself twice in the past.
Right.
Just
I don't have really any other comment. I've read both, I believe it's been two emails that have been sent forward, two from actually the same person, but I don't have any further comment to make on it, rather than, yes, I understand the situation. I understand the complexity behind the problem. I don't think that it's gonna happen again, but also to the same effect, I think we're all working on trying to find a solution for it, so.
But I think if you're ever in question, whether something's a conflict or not, that's why we have legal counsel here to ask. So never hesitate to ask. I mean, this doesn't come with, I shouldn't say it doesn't come with with a rule book. Actually, it does. It can be thick and it can be confusing at times, but a lot of people, reading the stuff, a lot of people have, there's a difference between what an idea or a policy could be, and then there's also, what a suggestion can be and stuff. And I think that it's important that we as elected officials ask everyone, ask ourselves, and if we have a question, ask legal counsel, what some things sometimes people think are a conflict aren't, sometimes things that we don't think are a conflict are. That's, we've seen that before too. I mean, it's just one of those things. So it's just a good thing for all of us to be aware. There was also some things that were said in these that that I myself am supposed to do this or that. I don't have the authority to do that. Some of the things that were mentioned. People think you do, but I don't. Mayor doesn't. It doesn't matter if it's the mayor or if there's another council member running the meeting in the absence. There's certain things that. So I would just remind all elected officials that if we have a question, ask for legal guidance.
Mayor, can I speak to that, please?
Sure.
I saw in the board packet materials comments from two separate commenters who suggested that the city attorney or city staff, or even perhaps a fellow council member, would have the ability to disqualify a council member, an elected official, from taking a vote, participating for a vote on something. This is coming from people who have substantial public body experience, who profess to have substantial board experience, claiming that somebody would have the right to tell an elected official whether or not they can vote on something. Completely wrong. Okay. Conflict of interest policies and how they're adhered to are completely, if somebody asks my advice about whether I think that's a conflict of interest, I'm here to give that advice. But I'm certainly not here to tell an elected official whether they can or can't vote on something, nor is anybody at this desk, nor is any member of city staff, to suggest that any of us would be negligent and not trying to disqualify an elected official from voting on something. Completely 100% wrong.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else have any comments from? Okay. Next item, roundabout project, final pay application.
This is the final. Gonna blow my. This is the final payment for the roundabout project. It is complete. We delayed the one final payment just to see if we'd get enough vegetation. That took place. They've paid all their bills and all the monies owed to their subcontractors and fulfilled all those obligations. I see no reason why not to make final payment in the amount of $82,152.49.
And we have power still flowing pretty good.
Huh?
We still have power flowing pretty good in that center of the roundabout.
Didn't hear you.
When I went on that ride along with you to go for the trail,
Oh,
we were checking the power, yeah. Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve application number 4 for the final payment in the amount of $82,152.49.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 5, Gull Lake Trail Project, pay application number 5.
yeah, this is pay application number 5 in the amount of $231,903.60. We still maintain retainage of 5%. This puts the project money wise about 66%. And while it doesn't look that far along, we've had to wait a considerable amount of time for an issue in Lakeshore with the piers, the anchors, and the depth that they needed to go. We had to do a change order for that. And that affected the boardwalk too. So we had to do a little design change with the boardwalk. So the project is being delayed. I'll let you know that tonight I found out the new schedule. They're gonna get the boardwalk for the change order for the piers. The boardwalk, they get a different material for it. They expect to have it in the next week, and they expect to have it done by November 30th. That right there will prevent them from finishing the two connections to each boardwalk. So there'll be, like from Zorba's, they'll do Zorba's, the bituminous trail all the way up to about 10 feet short of the boardwalk. Obviously, after in the November, they'll lose the ability to do any kind of paving. At that point, if that happens and they're not complete with the boardwalk, when they do finish the boardwalk, that section will be put in gravel so that they're able to use the trail all winter long. Shouldn't close. The rest of it is pretty much on track.
Always something.
Yeah, after the tornado, everything looked good.
I did notice on one area on Lower Roy Lake Road, there's the drain that goes across the trail and it
Yes.
goes into the woods by North Pines.
We're waiting in the park.
Okay, is that gonna be like a cement piece or something that?
We
directs
can
the
do
water
that. We
into
can
the-
do that, but I think it was opened up at one time by the contractor and then it was gonna just touched up. Water should go across there and into it. If it's not, and if it's starting to back up considerably, we can easily put a flume in there, a small trough of concrete to make that work. The reason it isn't completed on the other side, back side of that is because lo and behold, they forgot a part when they ordered the thing that the manufacturer delivered it with missing one part. So they're waiting for that. They can get that. That'll be hooked up. Okay.
There was something in there about the change in field conditions for those helical anchors or something.
That's what I'm
What's the
talking about
change
over
in
here.
the field conditions? What change?
The soils there, they went, the anticipation is about 25 to 30 feet to right around in there to get enough, reverse force back on the whole boardwalk up. When we did our test, helical, it went down 82 feet. So we have the project helical distance spec was for 20 feet on average for each one. You can see we're a 62-foot length of $44 a foot of piering would draw the attention to be able to get a decent change order on that one. So it did take some time. They also have electrical power line that goes through there's 45 feet deep. Pretty hard to find it because they lose their when they look for them, they lose their ability to determine whether or not that's in a 2-foot zone or a 4-foot. And at that point, 45 feet, you're lucky if you get 10. But they'll even say that it's there. Because of the water table, you can't dig down to locate that one. If it's too deep, the water would come in, you wouldn't be able to do it. So they will not even go close to it. And that was the change for the boardwalk. We're going to do a cantilever system with a concrete ballast on that. And we won't have to use the piering. We'll save money on the piering. They're going to do the boardwalk at about the same cost, so there'll be no change in that. And actually, I think we're going to get back. We'll get a deduction from them for the materials that they couldn't take back. But we're going to come up.
No restocking fee, huh?
Huh?
No restocking fee, huh?
Yeah, that darn restocking fee. But they give us an estimate of 13.5 for the material to buy back. I'm sure they're going to make decent money on buying back that material.
Right. Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the Gull Lake Trail pay application number 5 in the amount of $231,903.60.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 6, American Tower Lease Agreement Amendment.
Thank you. This is probably potentially a newer item for some of the council members, but the city has had a lease agreement with American Tower for the use of our cell tower located at the city's maintenance facility since the late 90s. The current lease is set to expire in September 2028. The city attorney and I have been in conversations with American Tower for a few years now, a good few years. As part of, because they have interest in extending the lease agreement that helps them then negotiate contracts for their subleases that they have. But as part of the negotiations with American Tower, we've been working with Tom Blum, our Public Works Director, about moving their access to a separate location so that they aren't accessing the tower through our current wastewater and maintenance facility. And so included in part of this, as part of this agreement, is a requirement that American Tower will construct a new road that will give them direct access to the tower. And that will eliminate the need for them to come onto our city's facilities, maintaining better security and all of those other components. Certainly, if there's questions for Tom from his perspective on the benefits of this, I'm sure he'd be able to answer those questions. And with that, I think that's really the big change. Otherwise, it's just a lease extension agreement. But construction of the new road is an important piece and a good deal that they're going to bear the cost of that as part of this agreement. Tom, any other thing? Oh, the survey. We are still working through the survey details with respect to that road. And we are working with Widseth to determine the adequacy of the information that they've provided that we would incorporate into this document. So the approval tonight, if the council is inclined to approve this extension, is contingent upon the city engineer and city attorney agreement on the language that would be incorporated into this document. If anything significantly deviates from that, we would bring this back to the council for your consideration next month. Anything else, Tom?
No, I think you got it.
So a motion to approve as presented, essentially,
Contingent.
contingent.
Contingent on survey review and finalization.
I'll second that.
Cheater.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next item is fire department, wanting to purchase a Polaris Ranger.
Good evening.
Even.
So we've heard about all these events and how they're gonna explode bigger and bigger. And yes, it creates heartache for everybody. So we have came up with a contingency plan. We would like to add a side-by-side to our fleet for running these medical calls when we can no longer get our fire trucks in and out of our town. So in the future, it sounds like our fire trucks will be leaving during the events down to Schaefer's, wherever we decide to put them outside of town. So we're gonna leave a crew behind with this machine to take care of our medical stuff, to work with the ambulance crews and so forth. So we're asking permission to use $10,000 of my city budget this year that I still have left. And our community given sites will pick up the other 18.5. I've already spent, I had to do a deposit to keep the machine, so we've already put $500 down with a contingent. If you say no, we can get back. So that's where I'm at here tonight, asking for your approval.
You have.
You are crafty. I will give you that.
Yes,
He came to
we
my
do
off-
have one
he
that's on
came to my
tracks.
office
This
'cause I
one will
missed
be
his
on
phone call.
wheels.
This would be, okay.
This is on wheels. And then the long-term plan here is in the next 24 months, remove the tracks off of the 10-year-old unit and put on the new unit and run the 10-year-old unit until you build us a public works building down at Schaefer's corner.
So that's what we're calling that one.
And then we'll get rid of it.
I thought there's already one Schaefer's corner.
Yes.
All right.
So I'm just looking for a motion to approve this purchase. We're picking up, our fundraising department is picking up 2/3 of this. You guys are just picking up 1/3.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of a new 2020 for Polaris Ranger Crew XP 1000 side by side as presented.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you, Chief.
Planning and zoning downtown master plan timeline. Bethany again,
Thank you so much.
and Tom.
Yes. I know the last time that we spoke about the downtown master plan was during our budget workshop this last spring, and it was kind of put off on the side, and we all kind of agreed that we didn't necessarily need to embark upon a master plan for the downtown area, unless, of course, there was going to be some large infrastructure changes. And so this was initially budgeted for 2022, and we just kind of kept moving it down. But it was identified as possibly being suited for 2025. And however, after talking with Public Works, with the upcoming road bond and City Hall street improvements, it was made clear that a master plan for downtown would be a beneficial step that would help identify road placement, function, pedestrian routes and safety, utilities, stormwater lighting, commercial expansion, parade routes, ADA, and mixed uses. It is already in the proposed budget that that you've seen. So this is no change to what you've seen. It just dawned on me that we haven't talked about it, and I really think that we should this before we embark upon a project of this magnitude. If you have any questions, there's a timeline that I'm kind of proposing. It would be an RFP in February with proposals due by the end of March, and then would seek council approval at the April city council meeting. Of course, that would all change if situation changed. But
Is it gonna go through in front of planning and zoning commission first? Or are you gonna bring it straight to? Probably straight to. I don't think it would need to go in front of them. I just wanted to double check that we weren't gonna.
Are we
add
gonna
anything.
Yeah, I
update
think
the planning and zoning rules prior to this, though?
as
to get,
far as,
You know,
the
like this,
downtown master
yeah,
plan?
with the.
oh, with the
water-
commercial,
With the
yes,
commercial use?
that is
once-
starting this fall, yes.
Okay,
And
so that would be done ahead of time.
we're going to be working through those changes for the commercial shoreland, including the downtown area this fall and into the winter. I'm hoping to have something to planning commission and city council by February.
What do you see as the biggest portions of the project? Tom, Bethany, you guys? I mean,
Well, coordinate, you
Right.
know, for instance, we've talked about either building or remodeling the pickle. We've talked about a potential roundabout at this intersection. We've talked about there's a possibility of some new business where the motel is. All of that needs to be coordinated. We've talked about an ADA plan with sidewalks, storm sewer. There's a lot of components to it and they all need to coordinate. Otherwise, we end up doing things twice or
Correct.
redoing things. So
Yep.
this plan helps us to coordinate all of that.
so storm sewer will definitely be part of this.
It could be.
Okay.
It should be.
I'm sorry to be the Debbie Downer and everybody doesn't like to hear the numbers, but we've talked about this for how many years? And we're zoned for it. But we
You know,
don't
with the
have
commercial
it.
zoning that we have certain performance standards that account for or assume that we have the capacity to handle such as stormwater. With 90% impervious allowed in the central business district, it is assumed that we have the stormwater then to deal with that. In many cases, we don't. And that's something that needs to be looked at.
Run it all to the MinDOT ditch, right?
That's right. Mhm.
So with this, what additional help would either one of you need to accomplish this, you know, from outside people or, you know?
I've never done one of these before, so I'm assuming an awful lot, right? So there will be an element of that, but my understanding is that the RFP process will be the most labor intensive for staff. After that, you know, whoever we choose to do the project will lean on heavily.
This is essentially the same process as the Parks Master Plan.
Yeah.
So we want to bring in someone who would do a lot of the heavy lifting throughout the spring, summer, fall months to engage the community, work with staff so that, like Bethany said, we're just developing this is what we want, and someone comes in to facilitate.
Glad to see it's getting started.
And so I think if we could have a motion from the council just to approve staff's recommendations
I'll
on
make
this
that
as
motion
presented.
That we approve staff recommendations for the downtown master plan timeline.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works, existing drop-off recycling site closure signage or moving or site closure signage, sorry.
Good evening, everyone. So you should have in your packet an example of the sign that we would like to place at the recycling center. We've gone through this with our committee. Tom McCauley on our committee and I sat down in my office for a couple hours and we reworded that sign. And we feel that that would give everybody a heads up that there's going to be a major change to our recycling center. It's either going to be moved or just simply we won't have recycling anymore. And so that would give them an opportunity to make comments to you folks or change their own plans of how they handle their refuse. So I guess what I'm looking for is just simple approval to add that sign to the existing recycling center.
And this is important that we get this out so that people realize what's happening here and have it very visible right at the site.
Yes, and
Yeah.
very large, so.
I think it's important people realize that the county is pulling its funding. I mean, we were funded 50-50 for 2024. I think it's
25% after the year after that.
75% is on the city for 25 and nothing moving forward after that.
Yeah.
And it's important residents know that because it's, there it is. And we do have curbside recycling. Correct. So,
Yes.
yep.
Has that started? Yeah. The
Curbside, yeah, actually, we have at least two of our providers in town have begun it voluntarily. They didn't have to until springtime, but they've already started working on it, so.
Is that information currently on the city's website and stuff advertised or noted on there?
I would have to double check that, but
Referencing curbside?
Yeah.
Oh, we can double check. I guess I haven't looked at that
Yeah,
page for a while. You have a recycling page, but
yeah, I think there's a mention of the curbside recycling, but I would have to be sure it's up to date.
I'd make a motion that we move ahead with the sign as
I'll-
presented.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Public Works, Woodseth quote for 2025 road bond.
All right, so you have in there a quote from Woodseth. What we're looking to do is provide some preliminary engineering for the 2025 road bond to give us a ballpark idea of what our expense could be for that project. And the reason we're doing that is we're looking for a direction. Is this going to be a project that we fund out of the general fund, or is there going to be potentially an assessment needed to help fund that? And so this will give you a range of what we expect this project could cost. And would help you make that decision of whether or not to pursue assessments as part of the 2025 road bond process. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, just to kind of clear, we're trying to get a number together for the 2025 road project. Like he was saying. It's on.
can you be a little closer though?
Is
Thank
that
you.
better? So we, as he was saying for the assessment process, what that does to us is that if he asked me to just make a preliminary report for this project. And I don't know if I'm gonna do it, we're gonna be doing assessments, makes a difference on what kind of survey work we'd have to do too. So we get a price for a ballpark, not a ballpark, a fairly accurate price as to what all the roads would cost. That way you can make a decision on what he was discussing. And then that in turn gives us the direction on how we have to approach a preliminary report for it. You follow what I was saying.
It would also give us the opportunity to, if you say say you don't want to do an assessment, but you don't want to go that big with the project, it would give us an opportunity to pare down the number of roads that we would be willing to look at.
So this report would actually give us both options.
Yes.
So is this money that's already budgeted for, or
Yes,
is
it
it this?
is. Yeah, it's in our 2023 budget.
Yeah, okay.
Make a motion that we move ahead as presented for having Woodseth put together the document, I guess.
2025.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2025
Okay.
road bond document.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Public Works request to purchase grapple.
So the reason I brought this up was more a reaction to some discussions we had last month with the 2024 budget. This is a piece of equipment that we were looking for 2024. I have identified some money that we have left over in our 23 budget that could potentially be used to purchase this. This is an item that as of the writing of this, it was available to us to purchase right away. That's not something we would have to order necessarily. If that's still the case, I would look for the opportunity to purchase that yet in 23. And we would reduce the 24 budget by that amount.
I guess my first question that I would ask is, do we see any reason at this time from a council level that we wouldn't purchase the Mini X?
No, and this is with this.
That's what's needed to operate
Sewer
this.
fund anyhow.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what's operating this.
Right.
So if there isn't a question of whether that's going to be purchased, then okay, so.
I'll make a motion to approve Public Works request to purchase a Kubota grapple attachment.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
You'll like it.
Thank you.
You'll like it. We just bought one ourselves.
Excellent.
Yeah, they're awesome.
We got to play with one a little bit, but as a demo, so
Helps clearing trees and down deer hunting trails
yeah.
really well. And falling down tree stands.
Item 12, Minnesota Public Employees Association Union Contract for 2024. Looking for a motion to accept. It's been work completed. It's all been agreed to, signed, sealed, delivered.
I also move.
And I will second it.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And the Teamster Union contract for 24-25. Same thing.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I will second that too.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 14, this was a late addition. This is declaration of acquisition of public highway. Tom.
This came to my attention through a referral from Tom, who got contacted by an attorney representing a property owner in St. Columbo about a title issue. And so upon investigation of the information the attorney forwarded to me, you see the information in your packet, I think pretty adequately shows what the issue is, and between the narrative supplied by the attorney and also the email that you have in your packet, I think pretty well shows this gap that we're talking about. This declaration that's been prepared, excuse me, by the attorney and approved by me would get recorded into the county land records and would serve to define the width of Mission Road so as to eliminate that gap. Why this is coming up now after decades of being in existence, and I don't know how long Mission Road's been there and whether it was unimproved to start with or what, but
It's one of the first roads in this
Yeah, so, this always causes a question about how is this coming up now after countless transactions and refis and who knows what, but it just goes to show you there's always an underwriter at a title insurance company who will find something, and that happened here. So
I need to recuse myself from this one because my fiance and I are purchasing this property. So that's why it came up.
So this declaration is meant to cure it. If you approve it, then it'll get signed off on. It'll get recorded by the requester, and that should clear the way for that transaction, and then also clear the way for other transactions that would be negatively impacted in the future.
And I would like to recommend that we go ahead and approve this declaration of acquisition of public street as presented here.
Second. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. You noted the one abstention. Gull Lake Trail change order number 5.
Yeah, this is, I led up to this earlier. This would be for the helicals that are gonna be addition. And for a request to extend the contract to the November 30th for the work to be completed.
And the addition is to the city of Lake Shore.
Yes, this is for the
Yes.
Lydia.
Formality on our end.
Well, since it's a request to extend the contract, I figured it appropriate to bring it to both councils.
And just for my understanding, whenever we get just to do a general quote, like this, they assume a certain depth, right? That 20 feet.
Yes,
these types of items.
We assumed 20 feet, which is
Yeah, as a
pretty-
standard, right?
pretty big, yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is it nearly impossible to get over there to try to do any kind of borings to find
Yeah.
out, and it wouldn't have.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to know. That's how it's done.
Yeah.
So
I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the contract as modified. Let's see.
The change order number 5.
Let's see, the change order, where is that?
Change order number.
We're voting on 15.
Right.
So you're making a motion. I need a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I'll make the motion that we approve the Gull Lake Trail change order number 5 as presented.
Second,
Second.
third. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
G1 under old business, you all received from Craig, Tom and Bethany, Chief Taylor, Public Works Director Blommer and City Planner Soderlin put together a council memo for us all. Did you all get a chance to read that? Okay. It just highlights the challenges of parking in town. We all know. So, and then they're, construct a paid parking ramp. I knew it was his. So, okay.
So I think Mayor Ryan, based on the last paragraph, city staff recommends removing on-street parking provisions from the land use ordinance. So I think that's looking for action to initiate an ordinance amendment. Bethany, is that what we're wanting to clarify in the ordinance versus current practice?
Yes, I believe we discussed that last council meeting, that is something that we need to do. We need to remove chapter 20-249 that has parking provisions and basically prohibits on-street parking throughout Nisswa. That's in chapter 20 land use development. It has no business being there. So then the question becomes, do we want it elsewhere? Do we have any recommendations for where that should be? It is staff recommendation that we do not put those provisions anywhere else or make an effort to make parking illegal in the city of Nisswa. But we do recommend that we have a really concerted effort to locate and identify areas where parking can be established. Parking's always been a problem. Parking will probably continue to be a problem considering everything we've heard this evening. And so we would like to know if there are any places that the city council feels that should be no parking, to give us direction. You know, Chief Taylor, I'm not going to speak for him, but he has no problem enforcing it, but we have to have signs up and we have to have resolutions passed, adopted, etc., in order for him to be able to do his job. So that is the direction that we're looking for this evening.
The as the only one on the council when this was passed that's left, and the one of the ones who voted against it to begin with, I have no problem removing it. I think there's state statute that stipulates where people can and can't park. There are some intersections here, and the first one that comes to mind is Church Street, across from the school. There's not supposed to be anybody parked there, I believe, for 25 feet, but yet, I mean, common sense doesn't really ring true too much. There's places like that. I would just ask that the officers in their travel, Public Works in their travels and stuff, if they see a problem with something like that, make notations, confer, what do you think? What can we do? What can't we do? Some places just isn't possible. It doesn't matter what you put, people are gonna, they do it. Unless you're gonna start towing cars and all that fun stuff, and that brings a whole nother thing with it. I think there's a few areas that might be that way. It would just be smart to just let yourself, Public Works know, the police department know, and then let them look at it, and you all can decide if it can be done. I mean, look at the school, for example, is busy. I mean, I think they do a much better job than they used to do. Getting kids or getting vehicles coming in and going out, and they do a really nice job with it, but there's areas that are just going to be congested. So, and if there's an event of some kind and we have to post no parking on the side of a road for that because of the events and stuff like that, just for a safety, we can do that. That's my understanding. You know, we've done it for years. So I'm for having them staff redraft that ordinances, which is what you're looking for, right? Eliminating that. So I would make that motion that we redraft that ordinance, that staff dig into it and bring the proper recommendations.
I will have that for you next month.
But that was my motion.
I'll
Yep.
second.
You need a second.
Let's go.
Second.
Just put down Mark, there's.
Any further discussion on it? All those does that give you enough to go on?
Absolutely. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Just for the record, I never understood why it was done in the first place. So kind of like the 10-foot, 15-foot setback thing. If you can find it, cool. I'd love to read it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I have nothing to report. Mark,
Oh,
go.
Two questions, maybe for next meeting. Can we get a hold of Lakeshore and see what their plan for their upkeep of portion of the trail would be? For our knowledge, when we talk about it in November.
There has to be consistency.
Right, yeah, so,
I mean, even Fairview needs to be in on that too.
yeah, so. you know,
Yes.
I think
the-
we should have Amber can probably answer that.
Yeah, do we know what Lakeshore is gonna do? I just looking for that information over the next.
Yeah, so when we met with the Gullah Drifters, Fairview Township and Lakeshore and the county were all involved in that meeting. Last week, Fairview Township did present it to their council. They did approve, preliminarily approving that permit. They didn't have much in front of them to go off of. Lakeshore's council meeting is next week, so we will know where they're headed by the time we discuss again in November.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Anyone have anything else?
I will be attending remotely next month.
Okay.
Apologize.
Where are you going now? None of my business.
Wedding venue.
Oh,
I get married in January.
well,
Community center.
Well, it's Thanksgiving. I'm gonna spend a couple extra days in Florida, you know, why not?
okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're done.
Thank you. Thank you all.